What's up, 2K crew? It's your boy Turbo and 2Ks as always. And you know what, 2Ks? Someone pointed this out. We don't really introduce the show and what we really do anymore. I say we, but I'm getting lazy. But for those of you that are new viewers or listeners, what we do is here at the Turbo and 2K show, we give our amateur opinion on professional sports, college sports, and prep sports. So grab a drink, lock in that seat, get comfy, because we actually have a really, I'm going to say cool topic. It's not going to be, just to give you a heads up, if you came today for baseball, probably not going to hit that. If you came today for NCAA hoops or NBA, not going to hit that either. And we're not going to hit the fact that Tiger is not playing in the Players' Championship this coming week. But you know what we are going to talk about is the fucking weather, how nice it is. You really know what the three of us should be doing, right? We should be golfing, not podcasting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I saw that Pineview was open today.
Yeah, well, it was Thursday or Friday. I messaged Jake and said that the pins were out on Diamond Lake.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, they were. Well, normally we're getting around for the we were supposed to be. We already had the email set up for it for the Cedar Lake ice golf.
Yeah,
that we always play in, and it was supposed to be yesterday. Well, they decided to do golf out at Pineview today, so that's what
nice.
a lot of the guys that normally play on that are
probably a little
there.
safer.
It's a boat race right now in Cedar Lake.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you might notice he just piped up on audio, and for YouTube, right there, you see this sexy son of a bitch right here. You might be like, damn, he's handsome.
That is right.
What's my brother? Of course he's handsome.
Right.
He looks just like me.
I taught Turbo everything you know.
Well, speaking of YouTube, for all those on the YouTubes, go ahead and give us a subscribe, a like, a comment. Let's get a conversation started. And for those of you on the audio side, wherever you consume your audio podcast, give us a subscribe, a 5-star rating, and then give us a comment, and we'll read it on the air. So that being said, with today's topic, like I said, we're thinking outside the box here, but this has been a conversation, a show we've been trying to plan for well over a year now. And Kyle, I think someone's stealing your car.
They can get into it because I couldn't.
Well, they must have because they drove off. So, but
Bucket truck sitting out there.
But what we're going to dive into today, ladies and gentlemen, and this topic works out perfect right now because, yes, there is NCAA hoops. We have we just watched the Big South Conference Championship, but most of the big conference championships don't wind down until next weekend. So there's really, in baseball, I mean, we're still in spring training. Astros are still cheating. Mookie Betts isn't playing. But for the YouTube only content, I do have a kind of a hot button topic that probably not hot button to anybody else but me and baseball fans, but hang out for that and we will, believe me, it won't disappoint. But today's topic is we're going to talk about esports.
Yep.
Esports. And you might be saying, well, Turbo, what the fuck is an esport? Well, if you don't know what an esport is, you might be living under a rock because they're electronic sports, just like the name suggests. Video games as a form of sport. Now, the reason we brought my brother Josh on here is he's got 3 kids.
Yep.
So, Josh, how old are your kids?
15, 12, and 10.
In 2Ks, you have kids, but yours a little younger.
Mm-hmm.
How old are your kids again?
7, 5, and 2.
Now, Josh, when it comes to video games, are any of your kids quote unquote gamers?
A little bit. Jacoby, he's 10. He does like to play some video games, but for the most part, they're not really too into the video game.
So you're not having to fight people off of Xbox Live and stuff like that at night for them to go to bed?
Nope. Well, being in Marcellus, everyone else knows we have terrible internet.
Right.
So there is no Xbox Live.
Plug for the MEC. Go ahead and get
That
your
is
shit
right.
in.
Pay your money.
And 2Ks, do your kids play, or are they too young?
They're interested in it because they always are asking if they can. And so a lot of times, like with NBA, I'll give them the controller and just like set it up on practice mode. And believe it or not, Noli's probably the best. Like Noli's is a 2-year-old, and I tell you, he is slick with the joystick. He's got some moves and he knocks down shots. And I sit there and watch him like, damn, he's
How do you know what you're doing?
Yeah, he's better than me. He might. So he spends a lot of time watching his dad.
Well, it's probably like me when it came to those like Tony Hawk games or the snowboarding games where you're going down the half pipe and you're just hitting all the fucking buttons.
The
all
button
at once.
masher.
Yeah.
You hit X to hit the jump, then you just start swirling everything.
That was me.
That was me too.
Tony Hawk and who was it? Brian Mira. Is that the one with the bite?
Dave
Mira. There we
Mira.
go. Yeah.
Yep.
That was me just kick flipping and rail grinding all over the place. But and look, let's kind of give Kyle, you kind of alluded to it. Let's give our background on us, the three of us, our kind of individual sports or esports backgrounds. So when did you get into it? What's kind of your thing if you're still into it?
Today, now that I'm older, I play mostly sports games. I love baseball games, MLB The Show. I love NBA games, NBA 2K. Not a huge fan of Madden. I want college football to come back. Hopefully now with all the rule changes as far as paying players and the rights for all that stuff. I hope that they bring college football back because that was one of my favorites. But I can't get into Madden near as much. To me, they've messed around with the settings so much that it's just not the game that it used to be. But now go back into my heyday, high school, college days. Probably the reason why I didn't make it through college was because of Halo. I can remember pulling all nighters playing Halo all the time with my brother Adam, and that goes back to high school, college, and then But before, I was playing video games. Shit, I was 5-6 years old, I think, when I got started. I think it was me and Brandon and Adam, my two brothers, playing the Mario games and Zeldas and all those. I mean, then the N64 came out and you had 007 and Perfect Dark.
GoldenEye.
And yes, I mean, so it started way when I was really really young. And today I'm 28 years old and I still play them.
Now Blitz was on 64, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Blitz
That
was
was
also
crazy.
on. I think Blitz was also on PlayStation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then for baseball they had Slugfest to come out for when I think that came out with the PS2, and that was, you're beating the shit out of guys on base and stuff. That was pretty cool.
What about you, bro?
We were the generation of Atari and the regular Nintendo. Was it Madden first came out? You were just like the little block, and it was like chess pieces. Like they just moved a little bit at a time, and yeah. I never really played a lot of sports games. My preference was always the shooter games. But probably for the past 10 years, I really haven't played much.
Yeah, you kind of hit the nail on the head like when we were growing up. I remember the Christmas we got our Nintendo.
Yep.
And then we played the shit out of that. And we got a Sega. Mm-hmm. Played the shit out of that. Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
All the cool... And back then, it used to be all the cool sports games were on Sega.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
They had the Sonic games.
Yeah.
The Sonic games were sweet.
And then from then, I think you got a PS1.
Yep.
Which I don't remember us playing a whole lot on.
No, we didn't.
And then it was... Shit.
You got the original Xbox.
Yeah, I got an Xbox when I went to college. And that's, getting back to the Halos and...
original Tiger Woods.
Yeah, the Tiger Woods games on that were absolutely my favorite.
Yeah, they were awesome.
I think it was Tiger Woods 2004. That was like the best, Tiger game of all time. That game was sweet.
Yeah.
And
Golf in those tournaments, being 72 under.
Yeah, you had like the Tiger vision.
Yeah.
Just line up the putt and you knock down anything.
And then from there, I think it was years later that I think Mom and Dad got us a 360.
Right.
Which
I had like 10 hours of playtime on it.
No, because Kurt got me into the Modern Warfare games.
Yep.
And I played the shit out of one of them, and just kind of normally for me, like if I play a game for a month, that's a long time.
Right.
And I remember when you and I first moved in here, we would you would go and buy like discount bargain bin games, and we'd play the shit out of those for a little bit, and then it just got to the point where we had the Kinect for it. The whole 9 yards. And you would think on the Kinect the Tiger Woods game would be badass, but it wasn't. There was just way too many kinks and flaws in it. And I also had a Wii.
Yep.
And one of the reasons I wanted a Wii was because of Tiger Woods, and that game sucked. On the Wii.
Mm-hmm.
And everything else you tried to play on the Wii, aside from the bowling and stuff like that.
Yeah.
just took way too much. I mean,
Yeah.
you got to get the nunchuck, and it's like I can't use two fucking hands here.
But wasn't it the Wii though that would pick up your slice and your draw?
Yeah,
Yeah, that was cool.
yeah. It was more advanced, but then again, you had a tracker in your hand as opposed to scanning your body.
Yep.
But yeah, I actually for Christmas gave Cameron and Keegan the 360 and the games and everything, because hell, they'd been sitting here for
Right.
6-7 years.
Yeah.
And every time they'd come over, they'd be like, "Hey, does that still work?"
Yeah, I think it was mint.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're now putting it to great use.
Good.
So kind of where I want to get it started off is kind of the big argument discussion, I guess, let's say conversation,
Right.
is what this is trying to do. And most of everything that I'm going to be referencing here to 2K Crew can be found on mlive.com. This is actually an article from March 26th of last year. And this is kind of when I posted the question to the 2K Crew, what are your thoughts? Should esports be considered a varsity sport in high school? And obviously cue the train. Obviously one of the reasons that I brought my brother on is he has kids. You're a freshman in high school.
Yep.
And you have kids that are in that video game age.
Yeah.
My girlfriend Kristen has kids that are, in college and high school, and so I've seen kind of, and actually both of her boys are pretty big gamers, and so I have a little bit to bring to the table as far excuse me, as far as the kids in the video game zone. But let's just kick it off, and Josh, being the guest, what are your initial thoughts when I just say, what do you think about esports being a varsity sport in high school?
In my opinion, I would not classify it as a sport. I mean, if you want to say it's a club or a group thing ran through the school, I'm perfectly fine with that. In Marcellus, we have the powerlifting program, which I didn't know this, but I was told it's not actually a sport through the school. Mm-hmm. We have an equestrian program that's affiliated through the school, but it's not actually a sport. I mean, if you want to look at a sport is a physical activity. I mean, unless you're somehow throwing down while you're playing these video games, like, it's not a sport. Do I want kids to be involved and have alternative stuff to be able to do? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But then you also have to draw a line as to when does it start? Like, at what age do they bring this into schools?
Good point.
Because having younger kids, there is a direct connection between screen time and behavioral issues. Mm-hmm. So if it starts in high school, I think at that point, they're more ready to cope with it. But it shouldn't be, you shouldn't be able to get a varsity letter for playing an esport.
2Ks, what's your take on it?
I agree. I agree pretty much with everything that Josh just said. It just goes down to it's so hard to, when I think of sports, I consider it being active, playing, mm-hmm. running up and down a court, playing running on a field and being active, and as much as I just got done saying how much sports means or video games mean to me, mm-hmm. And all the positives that I think that this could bring to it. To me, it's a club. It's an event that for a group of kids, it reminds me of like a robotics class or something like that. But to consider,
big shout out to the Marcellus robotics team, by the way.
Yep, I saw that on Facebook.
Mm-hmm. But to try to consider this, the same as a basketball team or something mm-hmm. like that, it's just not on the. To me, it's not the same. It can't be considered in the same. I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but it just can't. It's just not.
So what you're saying is you don't want it to fall under the same umbrella as regular athletics?
No. And really, I mean, does esports, and this is, I'm kind of bringing up a whole other topic a little bit, but would esports even really want it to be a high school sport? Because then you're just going to get the MHSAA involved into it.
That's a good point.
I mean, do you really want them to have any say or anything? Because,
Right.
I mean, they've done their job of ruining a lot of high school sports and already. So why esports? To me, I think they're best off, going their own way and
Right.
and staying away from that. So,
well, my initial take is when I think of a sport, Now, granted, in my eyes, I agree with both you guys. You have to sweat. You have to sweat a little bit. But let's kind of, and it's kind of hard for us graduating from Marcellus to kind of, I didn't know there was fucking high school bowling teams.
Oh yeah, Schoolcraft has one.
And you can get a varsity letter in bowling.
Yep.
So I don't know, and I guarantee in my day I sweat while bowling. But as far as
sweat while peeling an orange.
Yeah. So
I've gotten into some pretty serious Halo matches and worked a pretty good sweat by the end of them.
So the whole checking the box for and I'm equating sweat with physical activity.
Right.
I think it checks just as much a box as bowling does.
Yeah.
Probably, you can say the same thing about golf. However, golf,
you have to walk it.
Yeah, you've got to walk, so there's some physical activity there. Do you have to play as a team? And we'll get into kind of some of the intricacies of this a little later. That box is checked, yes. When and ladies and gentlemen, what you have to and we'll get into that here in a little bit as well. We've mentioned Halo. We've mentioned, we haven't even mentioned Call of Duty. Well, I kind of did. Mm-hmm. In the Maddens. These are not the games these kids are playing when they're associated with these leagues. They are the same. I want to say there's 3 or 5 games that these players practice on, compete against one another, and it's not blood and gore. You're not shooting people. I mean, it's actual like strategy, teamwork, stuff like that. So, I forgot to stress that in the beginning, so I wanted to bring that up. So yes, you do have to work as a team, and there's a lot of unchecked boxes, but there's a lot of checked boxes, in my opinion. Now, what I really wanted to get in, kind of kick everything off, and where is it? And like I said, ladies and gentlemen, this is the name of the article is Esports in Michigan. Quote unquote too big to ignore. And this not only breaks down high school but colleges and everything else. So I'm going to read a little bit of this, and then we will kind of get these two guys and my reaction to it. It says more than 400 universities. The big MLive thing is over this. And more than 400 universities in the United States and Canada sponsor some type of esports competition, with 15 colleges in Michigan jumping into the esports world. And it says, and more according to State Champs esports tournament director Andrew Blanchard will follow suit. And the more I get into this article, you're gonna kind of get more of a grasp of how coordinated this is. This isn't just like, parents throwing this shit together.
Right.
I mean, now, if it was that, I'd be like, whoa, hold on. But this, the more I get into it, the more you're going to see that this is actually legit. It says Michael Brooks, executive director of the National Association of Esports, said that it is the main governing body for collegiate esports and oversees 129 programs. He's quoted to say, in 5 years, I expect more than 1,000 institutions, Brooks said. It's not a big endeavor for a college program, yet it impacts such a large group of students who, in general, now this is kind of the part of the statement that I might disagree with, have higher GPAs, higher test scores, and higher graduation rates. But then again, I look back at the crew that I graduated with that were gamers. Mm-hmm. Yes, all those guys would check the boxes.
Right.
But I can see the complete flip side of that, to where if your child is spending too much time on stuff like this, their grades will slip. Their priorities might be a little different.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And it says, we are on the ground floor of something that is growing at an exponential rate. It's kind of a mixed bag right now of what people are doing, but there is no argument about the growth potential of the entire esports competition industry. And to kind of give folks kind of a broad spectrum here. I know we just spoke about Call of Duty and how none of these esports leagues deal in like that vulgar, explicit kind of thing. For those of you that any of you that follow me on my social media, I talk about Gary Vaynerchuk all the time. For those of you that don't know Gary Vee, he is probably one of the top entrepreneurs in the world right now. He started his business as for those of you that know what Wine Library is, he was one of the first people to do a direct mail wine like membership, kind of like the box things cool. that we see now. And it was his dad's business. He grew his dad's business from $5 million to $65 million in like 7 or 8 years. He handed that off to his dad, and then he took the techniques that he went from there to now he owns VaynerMedia, Vaynersports, Vaynerx. Him and his brothers have
Club Vaynerx.
Yeah, Vandasex. But he's
it's another episode.
Yeah. If you go and type Gary V VEE into Google, you'll just see all of his shit pop up. And one of the things within the past year is he bought part of. There's actually a Call of Duty league, professional league. And they have, I think, 10 franchises all over the country. The one that he bought in, partial owner of, is in Minnesota. And the reason he bought the one in Minnesota is because they have a lot of the badass guys. Them in Toronto, I think, are the top 2. So, for those of you that say they're, all right, well, yeah, my kid can, if they excel great in basketball, football, baseball, there's a chance for them to go to college. There's a chance for them. I mean, granted, however small, there's a chance that they could do this. They could go on to play professionally. Now, with that being said, let me continue here on this article. Blanchard helps run the high school esports tournament that ends with a championship match at Lawrence Tech. Now, I did not see where Lawrence Tech is. I'm not familiar with Lawrence Tech. Each member of the 5-member winning team earns a $16,000 scholarship if they attend Lawrence Tech. They're basically half rides to Lawrence Tech. There are huge amounts of money available. And that doesn't include what other schools are giving. There are college teams that scout for this tournament. He goes on to say that there's approximately 16 million college students involved in esports programs in the United States and Canada right now. There's a reason Lawrence Tech is doing this. They're trying to recruit students. It's a major challenge. It is a major challenge right now trying to recruit players at the collegiate level. And I'll kind of skip ahead here to kind of give this part of the article, kind of tie a bow around it. The 15 Michigan-based programs range from Siena Heights and Division III Alma and Adrian to the Big Ten, Michigan State, and Mid-American Conference, Central and Western Michigan. Aquinas announced that it would add an esports team and join the NACE. Now, it doesn't say that any of these other colleges are providing scholarships or anything like that, but I think it's a club sport at this point.
Right.
You're definitely not going D1 in esports, but I have a feeling, and you guys can you guys can bounce your ideas off me, is that if there's these many schools that are coming into this, I think you're going to see a lot more competition, a lot like they were talking about recruiting. This could get really, really real, really, really quick.
Oh yeah.
And then you're going to see, all the schools I listed, when they recruit you, just the same as they recruit you for a regular sport, there's going to be scholarships available too. So that kind of fills the medium part. We got the high school thing. We've got the college thing now where you can actually earn money to go to college by being good at video games and good at also not just being good at video games, but you have to be a good teammate. You have to be a good
student.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And we'll I'm kind of building to that.
Mm-hmm.
And so now, and then we go on top of that to where there's in the league that Gary Vaynerchuk bought into. That's not the only one. That's just a Call of Duty league.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember dude's name that won that big ass tournament, but he won like $3 million.
Yeah.
And with the ever growing YouTube channels, Twitch channels, to where there's a lot of people making a very good living at age 16 in their parents' basement with these video game channels.
Yep.
So that's kind of, that's kind of the landscape of where things are at right now. So I just wanted everyone to know this is where it's at now. This isn't something that is very loosely organized. It's highly organized, and I the second part of the show here, this is where we're going to get into some of the very foundations of what's going on, some of the rules, and I think if you're in 2K crew, by all means, we're not trying to sway you. We're just trying to have a conversation. Right. But the reason I'm kind of being kind of more boisterous is when I saw this, I read this article, I'm like, holy shit. So one of the first people I go to is my brother. I'm like, hey, what do you think about this? And he's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. So then we started talking, and that's when I put the thing on YouTube or on the 2K crew group. It's like, what do you guys think? And I was met with a lot of like, nope, fuck that, nope, nope, nope.
And like I said, and Josh said the same thing. Just that we don't necessarily consider it a sport. That's it's not that and I think that he feels the same way as what I feel. Maybe he's got a completely different feeling, but I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. There's a lot of things that I really like about it, and I think it would be great to bring it into the school and for a lot of kids and for a lot of different reasons. But to me, they're taking the wrong platform with it. If you're trying to compare it to different sports in the school, I don't think it's ever going to make it very far. But if you find the right platform and you start to compare it with things like, Science Olympiad team, what's the other one that they have at the school? I was not a smart kid, so I don't know all the different groups that you were able to get into, but there was all kinds of different groups I remember that you could get that you could be a part of up at the school. Whether it was I've heard of schools having a chess team, and things like that. So if you can categorize it in something like that, I think it'll take off and it has the potential to go a lot further than trying to compare it to an athlete that's playing basketball or an athlete that's playing football or something like that. That to me, I just don't think it's gonna. I don't think it'll take off.
Yeah, I agree with you. And
this article goes on to say, right now there are universities sponsoring esports, but not in the same way as traditional athletics. Northwood Athletic Director Dave Marsh says, for instance, at our university, esports falls under student services. At other universities, it falls under athletics. So that there's obviously different ways people can go about this. And this is going to kind of excuse me, I had that coronavirus. It's going to kind of springboard into kind of the next phase of this. It says, we talked for months about the possibility of adding it. The popularity is beyond what I imagined. You worry that you're endorsing an activity that has students cooped up and playing video games for hours on end. Some students do that anyway. This way, they're doing it in a way that has constructive results. Marsh has begun interacting with other collegiate athletic directors from universities that sponsors events. He also attends information settings about the pulses and minutes of university-sponsored esports programs. And this is kind of where the these next little parts are kind of where I was going with it. It's really amazing what has happened at some universities that have esports programs, Marsh said. Students have joined esports teams that have increased participation in other events. One AD said that the members of the team started going to basketball games, something they didn't do before. Being part of the esports team made them feel more involved and more part of the school. I talked to an AD that started 8 years ago, and they found a lot of benefits from it. The university provides the opportunity and students find their place. It's organized. Members learn teamwork, camaraderie, school pride, time management, leadership. It's all a part of esports, just as in traditional sports. Now, the one thing that I did want to... Oh, hold on. Let's get into this here. In October, and the reason I'm kind of pausing is this kind of hits really close to home. In October, Western Michigan University finished work on a $500,000 esports arena, turning the little theater into an arena that features 36 gaming machines, gaming chairs, special keyboards, and seating for 190 spectators.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah. And one of the things that I wanted to get, and I 2K crew, I apologize, I cannot find, I couldn't find the article, this was one of the articles I wanted. The other one I couldn't find. Now, to break down the one that I couldn't find, it was like how can your school get started? How can this happen? Our school can't afford this. What are the costs to this? Which, if those are all very valid questions, very valid questions. Now, the article I read, and granted, it was about the same time, March 26th, as the MLive article, said that your school can apply, and if there's certain boxes that your school checks, then this league will sponsor your school. Now, however, it can't be like there's not enough. It's not a sanctioned sport yet. There's not enough. There's not enough people doing it yet. Mm-hmm. Will it come to that? Oh, I'm sure. But one of the things is that this particular league would bring in the machines. If like Marcellus has the fiber internet, so Marcellus would check that box, and basically they would set everything up for free. The only time that the players would travel is to like this tournament, and that's it. Everything else is done completely over the internet. Marcellus would have their setup. There would be an official there just to make sure there's nothing crazy going on.
Hopefully, they're better than the basketball officials.
Could you imagine being that official?
Oh, I'd fall asleep.
Yeah. But so there's little to no cost, upfront cost for the schools. We already have the internet. Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of, there's almost no travel expense.
Right.
And it's now with this comes, the students that are participating in this have to meet the same eligibility requirements as a normal athlete. And to me, that's the tipping point right there. Mm-hmm. There's also rules that they have only so much practice time, like a regular student athlete.
Yep.
So they can't just go home and that's all they do. Mm-hmm. Their parents have to check off a timesheet and everything else to keep everything legit. So to me, the eligibility requirement is huge.
Oh yeah.
And it's huge one of two ways. You would get a child that is very into gaming, that wants to do this, is very good at it, would have to keep his grades up. Well, his or her grades up.
Right.
In my eyes, that's a huge bonus.
Oh, huge bonus.
And to have it where the games they're playing are very structured. They're not just playing Fortnite for 12 hours a night.
Grand Theft Auto.
Right.
No, that was a badass game.
Have they came out with what games they actually do play?
They do. They do, and that's on the other article that I obviously bricked and couldn't find. but they're not big name like games like that. They're, like I said, they're very specific. And the game,
probably had them designed for
this
situation.
Yep, they're more. If you picture it kind of more like, I'm trying to remember what the picture, like a video game version of Risk, where you take this country and there's so much strategy involved that because it's not just a go shoot 'em up type thing.
Right.
So and that, to me, the kids that normally wouldn't play sports because they're not into baseball, they're not, or either that or they're just, that's not their thing. They're not athletic, but they're good at other shit.
Right.
Like you mentioned the robotics club and the equestrian team. I didn't know we had an equestrian team until my senior year when we got the damn yearbook.
Right.
And I'm like, what the fuck is this? And my friends were in that, and I had no idea that we had an equestrian team.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, just to kind of piggy off of that, there's a lot of kids that that can't do it, but can't do it because of health issues.
Right.
I mean, that goes into a whole. You see stories all the time on ESPN where you turn it on and there's a kid that's getting in and scoring a basket or making a three and making a special situation out of it. That doesn't happen very often.
No.
When it does happen, ESPN gets a hold of it and they make it go viral basically. But there's thousands of kids that because of, I mean, probably tens and thousands of kids that because of health issues can't play the basketball, they can't play football. So to give them something like, and that's a big deal to them.
Absolutely.
That's where I look at this kind esports as such a opportunity for kids like that.
And you're going to get, like the article said, you're going to get more involvement in like pep rallies.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get more involvement in other aspects of school athletics, and just having more pride in yourself too, in yourself and in your team. So those are the two big things for me.
And like the way that they've have kind of set this out there, and this is the standard of it. They've done a very good job, and they had to be really serious about it, because if they weren't, it was going to be a joke. Mm-hmm. To me, now it's the school's job. The school has to put this out there and make this a big deal to all the rest of the students, to the parents, and make it and with pep assemblies and stuff like that, to try to build it up and make it a big deal. Because if they don't, to me it's just not gonna go any further.
And it's just gonna get washed out.
I think too, and this is something that I'm going to ask you guys, because I have my finger on the pulse in any kind of high school anything event is completely off the wall. It seems to me that now, when we were growing up, if you're a video game nerd, you're a nerd,
right?
No one would want to like celebrate you or anything. Now it's more, everybody does it.
It's mainstream.
Yeah.
It's like playing football or basketball.
So I know.
I mean, speaking as a coach now, like.
Yeah.
Half the time I got all these high school kids out there for baseball practice, and all they're ever talking about is the fucking video games.
Yep.
So it's like.
So would you, in your guys' opinion, from both your point of views, if hypothetically Marcellus was to add this, or any other school around here, do you think that the team would be accepted like a regular sports team, where they would involve them in the the pep assemblies, and would they just get made fun of? Or
I don't think that they would necessarily get made fun of, just because maybe back when we were in school, it might have been something where kids would have been could have made a mockery out of it. But like I said, these kids nowadays, they want to be playing video games. Yep. They want to be cooped up in their bedroom, on that kind of stuff. So I think that I would be more worried as a coach of losing,
taking away from
that
was going to be my next
kids.
question.
That would scare me more than making other kids making a joke out of it.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question as well. If this is something that a school wants to put in, especially a small school.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I remember, because 97 was the first year we had a varsity soccer team, and it was our family, our family's friends, all of us. We sat through, I can't tell you how many school board meetings, pushed to get the soccer program in there. And one of the main pushbacks was like, well, soccer is going to take away from football. Which when we played, that wasn't a thing, because hell, most of us have been playing club soccer since the time we were 8.
Right.
And none of us played football. Mm-hmm. You fast forward like 10 years, then you're seeing, the when Tim Brown had the soccer team and they were doing very good things, and the football team was kind of, I'm sure there was some kids that walked away from football to go play soccer.
I'm not going to sit here and bullshit people, but the Marcellus football program hasn't been there for, the last time they played in the playoffs was 2002.
Yeah.
So, soccer there for a while was the sport at Marcellus, that time of the year. And soccer's kind of taken a back seat now because, well, obviously Tim's not there anymore. Right. And numbers are way down. They don't have the talent that they used to have. And
we used to just get a whole bunch of foreign exchange students.
Right.
And for me, being a baseball coach, we have to compete with track. And track's always, at Marcellus, track has probably been maybe, track and basketball, boys basketball, have been the two most consistent sports at Marcellus for
They've been
years.
the two most consistent coached programs as well.
Yep.
Hell, I think Coach DeCou's been a track coach since like 1940
years. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And then we had your dad on. He said is his 12th year at Marcellus, or he's been coaching for over 20.
Yep.
So, it's program. They have a program in place. They've been there a long time, and that's something that you and Christian can build on for the baseball team.
Yeah, and that's like, we're trying to compete against Dave DeCou, and he's bringing all the kids in for track, and now we're also competing against Coach Davies with the golf team, and in golf, they might only have 7 or 8 kids, but we're a baseball program that has 16 kids that signed up this year, That's not enough for 2 teams.
No.
So now we got to make a decision. Do we keep 16 kids, which is too many kids to have,
Yeah.
or do we get rid of 3 or 4? And when you're trying to get the numbers to get to a JV team someday, it's really hard to tell kids that, to cut them.
Or
that's
you cut
kind
them,
of
they don't come back next
Yes,
year.
yes. So that's where we're at right now.
Or you cut them and then have injuries, and you're like, fuck.
But last year we went the route where we kept kids, and because of having a few bad eggs here and there, I think it just for the the team chemistry and stuff like that, Christian and I kind of made the decision like, man, I don't know if we want to go down that road again, and maybe it's best to write it up that we're not going to have the numbers, and let's keep these close to 12, 13 kids where everybody's getting along and nobody's complaining, and parents are not complaining. So
yeah, I'm sure the parents complain more than the kids anyway. So
Right.
But no, so that was kind of my when I first looked at this, and of course this day and age we're all headline readers. That's why there's a lot of false information on the internet and on Facebook. Is that we're all, I'm guilty of it, you're guilty of it, we're all guilty of it. We don't actually click on the article and read it. We just scroll past in Facebook and be like, oh, esports too big to ignore. Yeah, what the fuck ever. And for whatever reason, I clicked on it because it caught my eye because I wanted to see exactly where they were going with this. And my outlook when I first clicked it was, this is stupid. This is so stupid. Why would anyone do this? And then once I read it and actually saw how legit it was, how organized it was, how long. I mean, hell, it said one of the collegiate teams had been there for 8 years.
Yeah.
And then you take that, go kind of transition into, like I said, with the Twitch channels and the YouTube channels where they're all making a very, very, and that Ninja dude makes
millions of dollars.
Yeah. So, and I think we squashed the argument about, well, it's not a sport because you can't go on to college and play it. You can't do this professionally. You can.
Right.
But you always get those people, they're like, well, the percentage of that is just outrageous.
Well,
so you know what, Karen? So is the percentage of your stupid ass kid playing Major League Baseball.
I mean,
sorry.
you got what, 2% chance for your kid to make D1 college, and then it goes less than that to make it to the pros.
Well, there's just so many of those old timers out there that are just never gonna. I mean, like
same old timers that keep turning down this MEC internet.
Video games are for the devil. They're not gonna. It's just. I think it's easy for us being younger and kind of the younger generation and having kids now that are if I didn't have kids, I would be that old school person that was like fuck that, you can't have that. But now that I have kids, and I have and like having Nolan was a huge eye opener for me because he was born with abnormalities with his heart, and for Chell and I there are question marks there.
Yep.
Is he ever going to be able to play football? Chell says no. I want him to play football. And is he going to be able to play basketball? Not as much as contact, obviously, as football. Shit, I hope so. But we haven't. We have a lot of time yet to figure all that out and to see what happens and see how his body reacts as he grows up.
Especially with the athletic background of both you and your wife.
Oh, absolutely.
That's and proof's in the pudding with the girls. I mean, the girls are involved in every goddamn sport imaginable, which is awesome.
Yep.
Bros, same with you. I'm sure your kids have changed. They're not just one sport dedicated.
Right.
They try everything. If they don't like it, fine, let's try something else.
Yep.
And which that was the same when we were growing up. To be honest with you, the rule in our house growing up was you either play sports or you clean.
Yep.
So Josh and I played as many sports as we could.
Once you start, you can't quit.
I mean,
you got to finish the season out.
Like we talked about, my dad was my basketball coach. He was my baseball coach. The only thing he didn't coach me in was football. But I didn't, and I don't remember ever even having a choice. It was, hey, I signed you up for basketball today. Oh, okay.
Thanks, Dad.
Hey, you brought this baseball bat home. I guess I'm playing baseball this year. Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much.
Okay. And I can remember the one year that I actually told him. That I didn't want to play football, and he was like, well, what else are you going to do? I'm like, well, I'd like to sign up for the golf team. He's like, okay. I was going to say, because if you're not going to do that, then you're going to be getting a job. Yep. I was like, well, I guess that was my choice. It was either play a sport or I'm getting a job.
Yeah, that was basically the same.
And I was a freshman that year.
That was basically kind of the same thing as when we grew up. Our parents pushed us to do stuff like that. which is super awesome because, we had two very blue-collar parents that worked their ass off.
Yep.
And they did that on top of carting him one place and me another place.
Mm-hmm.
And so they could have easily just said, you know what? Why don't you guys go play video games?
Back when we were growing up, though, I mean, we lived out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, that's very true.
We didn't have cable. There was no satellite. There was no internet. So you had 3 stations on TV.
And the kids down the street to play with.
That was it.
Yeah.
I mean, so your social interaction outside of school was to play sports.
Sports are like Boy Scouts and Cub Scouts and stuff like that.
That's where mom and dad made all their friends, was from us playing sports.
Same here, yeah. And I mean, I'm a few years younger than you guys, but it's still, the technology was not that much more advanced when I was in school.
No.
So it's just, I mean, I can remember, my brother's the same age as you guys, and we used to play one-on-one in the basement at the house with a rim that my dad had fucking drilled into the concrete downstairs, and that's what we played off of, and we used the concrete wall as the background, or as the backboard, so, and then if I wasn't doing that, I was, normally with baseball, I was fielding a golf ball off the concrete wall down there. And then when the weather was decent, we were out in the yard throwing a football around, throwing the baseball. So it was nonstop sports. And now it's like pulling teeth to get my kids to,
Play outside.
get off the iPad or something like that and just go out and play. It's like, oh, are you kidding me? And I'm like,
just stop, just go outside.
Like you've been watching that fucking iPad for the last 3 hours.
Yep.
And you guys talked about your kids. Well, my girlfriend's kids, she's got 2 of them that are into video games. And one of the things, like I said, the big part about mine was the eligibility requirement.
Yep.
And one of her sons struggles in school. Actually, both of them are doing absolutely amazing right now. I want to give them big shout outs. Cameron and Keegan, you guys are kicking ass. Keep going. But there is a fine line between screen time and homework time.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
And when you dangle this, if you want to play, you have to get your grades up and you have to keep them there. That's not a bad thing in my eyes.
No.
Now, like I said, there runs with the requirements, there's only so much practice time at home. That's not to say they can't play other games and stuff like that, but
Right.
I think because I would think that if you're on a team, you want to put forth that effort. When you get home from practice at school, when you get home and want to put a little extra time in, you're going to put that time in on the game that you're practicing with your team.
Right.
Granted, I'm sure there's going to be some times when you just want to throw on Fortnite and go dick around. But I think you'd see, again, priority management step in, hopefully, and kind of regulate that so where you're not getting the blood and guts and gore, the waiting on prostitutes and Grand Theft Auto and shit like that, to where, and especially with the internet and stuff, these guys can practice together online.
Right. I'm sure they could set it up so you have to log in through their server. So that way they can make sure that you're only playing so much.
Yeah, if you go by like the honesty game or the integrity of it, like that shit's out the window. Like there's you see it. You got freaking high school coaches, recruiting kids in nowadays to play for sports and everything. You're not going to be able to trust this guy to, oh, you only played for an hour and 10 minutes last night? Okay, You can't play it that way.
Sign this piece of paper.
Yeah, with today's technology, I mean, you can basically, you have to have like a login, where everybody can see, especially like an official of the league.
Yeah, you
can see.
You guys are probably 100% right on that.
But if you think of it as like a sports aspect, like my oldest daughter plays basketball, she can come home or we can go to the gym and she can practice for 8 hours a night.
And that's a thing too. Like you're gonna put a limit on it, but like the kids that are the best of the best and go on to play D1 and go on to play in the pros, they're not practicing for 2 hours a day. They're practicing for 2 hours and then they're going home and getting 500 shots up in the barn or throwing a baseball or hitting spending overtime in the batting cage, taking hacks and stuff like that. So it's not necessary. So it's so hard to try to categorize this. I don't know. And I think that goes back to trying to compare it to a sport.
Yeah.
And I think too a lot of the questions that the 3 of us still have, like the gray areas. If we actually dove into a lot of these articles, those gray areas would be black and white.
Yep.
And so 2K crew, this is not the end-all, be-all to this discussion. Like I said, check the MLive article out because there's links to other articles. Not the fucking one I wanted, but there's links there to, and it's a very short read. It's a very, very well-written article. But yeah, that's I'm almost positive that if I were to look back on the post in the group, a lot of the pushback came from, like you guys said, is it a varsity sport?
Right.
And I think one of the reasons that I don't know if with a club sport you can do eligibility requirements. Does it have to be a varsity sport? That's some stuff I don't know.
I don't know. I think if it runs through the school, they can make whatever
they can
rule
do whatever
they
they want with it. I would believe.
Well, I'm sure these leagues would have to get this league in there. You would have to. The school would have to.
Yeah.
I mean, you
abide by
can't
their
have kids
rules.
that are failing every class out there,
Right.
dominating the esports league. You know,
Because that's all they do all day.
Yeah.
Don't go to school, but
But yeah, we've got about 10 minutes here, guys. So I just want to get your final thoughts on this. I know it's, like I said, it's not a traditional Turbo and 2K subject, but again, this is in the changing landscape that is our world now. This is something that I think in the near future we're all going to have to just take a step back and be like, man, this really is legit. So, bro, what's your final thoughts on this?
my final thoughts are: I love any idea that gets kids involved. I'm not a video gamer, but there's a lot of people that are. If it gets them doing something, especially with other kids, where they might not feel comfortable doing other sports, I'm all for it. Especially when you throw in, you have to be eligible. You have to do that. They monitor what you can play. I think it's a great idea. Now, one thing, I know a lot of smaller schools are hesitant about starting new things.
Yes.
Like, I know for a fact that there's people at Marcellus High School that would just still to this day, love to see the soccer program just go away.
Oh, yeah.
Like, man, it's been there for 20 some years. Why would you want it to go anywhere?
And
it gets these people involved off their butts.
And you've added other sports since then.
Right.
Wrestling, golf. That wasn't there when I was in high school.
But I'm all for it. Just rename it.
Yeah. Yep. I feel the exact same way. I mean, like he said, getting these kids involved into because a lot of kids have their thing, have their hobbies and everything that they can do, but they don't necessarily have something that they can go to that they can call a team.
Yeah.
And being on a team teaches you a lot of things that prepare you not only for what you're doing on that team while you're in school, but it prepares you for life when you get out of school.
Absolutely.
Because when you go and get a job, you better be able to work
people.
You better be able to work as a team. No. And if when you get married someday, you better be able to work as a team because there's teamwork that goes into everything in life. So
Kyle's still learning that one.
Yeah.
well, shit. I'm the best goddamn teammate.
You did look very, very handsome in your daddy-daughter.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or no, it wasn't daddy-daughter. What was the name of it?
I was calling it a daddy-daughter dance.
They didn't name it something else.
Yeah, I think they did.
My Man and Me or something like that.
It was so much fun. And pretty much I was just there for the ride. I gave them the ride up there. And then as soon as we walked in there, they saw all their friends and they're off. So I just sat down.
With the other dads?
Ate some punch and cookies. And a couple hours later, grabbed their coats and put them back on and we went home. But it was fun. And they were so excited about it. So that, made it all worth it. But yeah, I mean, getting back to the esports thing. I mean, being on a team, and for a lot of these, and being a coach at the school, I get to, kind of get on a personal level with a lot of these kids, and there's a lot of kids that I've coached over the years that don't have much of a team or a great life to go home to. Right. A lot of these kids want to play, want to just keep on practicing baseball because they're not all that excited to go home. So
that's a good point.
To give these kids, an opportunity to, give them another opportunity to get out of the house and do something after school and be around, classmates and to be around friends. I'm all for it. I'm not going to argue. I can't sit here and argue that and ever call that a bad thing.
No.
And they can set it up so that, so obviously it's going to have to overlap a season of sports. Mm-hmm. But you can put it on a time. Like, you're not going to have a whole lot of basketball games or baseball games on a Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
No.
So there's ways to work around and make it all work, timing wise and day wise.
Like, and the thing too that makes it pretty easy to work with is, like you said earlier, it's all on the internet. So it's not like you have to travel or you have to have hire a bus driver to get these kids places. Yep. You have one tournament that you travel to. Other than that, you just play it right from school.
Yep.
So
and there's granted there in the article that I obviously can't find, there were some other, like they would in a central location, they'd all go like once or twice a season go meet the people they're playing against.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, they're just like pizza and pop, so everyone can talk about the game and gaming and
talk smack.
Well, that too, but you can see actually get to know the people you're playing against, which I didn't even really think about. I was like, well, fuck Gunner Joe 7,
Right.
and that's
if I ever get to see him.
That's another thing too, is with the officials that are at these schools. There's no cursing. There's no throwing things. You have to. It's just like any other sport. If
foul,
there's
legal contact to the screen.
If you're, 2Ks. If one of your guys gets rung up on strikes and they whip the bat against the dugout, they're gonna get tossed.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with this. Same thing with this. So, I mean, it's not like you're going to get vulgarities, fuck this. Not like you're playing on Xbox Live now.
Right.
And a 12-year-old's going to tell me he's going to go fuck my mother. And it's like, no, you're not, because I fucked your mom last night.
Damn British people.
Yeah. Yeah. But my closing thoughts, I mean, it's one of those things where I have to take a step back. It's not my thing. Do I dabble in gaming? Sure. Have I thought about buying, an Xbox One or something? Sure. But
if we get better internet, I'm definitely buying one.
Yeah, but I would probably waste the $300. I might play it for like 2 months and be done with it.
It's going to be this year when the PlayStation 5, I think, is set to come out, like in December, obviously. I mean,
they're
gonna, right at Christmas.
Oh, of course.
So I believe that the new Xbox is coming out basically the same time. So,
and then again, it's not my thing, but who am I to say that? When someone's into something like this and wants to pursue it and wants to try it, and it's organized like this, and all the I's and T's are dotted and crossed, I don't give a fuck. Do you?
Right.
Do you? And we've kind of pounded the positives. Not only are you doing you, but you're getting more involvement into the school than you wouldn't have. The academic eligibility is a huge thing. Like the teamwork and the pride and everything else. I have no problem with this.
Right.
And then put on top of that, if the article that I keep referencing is true, there's even if it's not, I'd be willing to wager that to get a team of 5 to buy the equipment would be less than buying uniforms for one like the football team and stuff.
Oh yeah.
So it's something it's not going to set you back. You don't need to go build a new field.
Right.
This is something they could do in the auditorium or the gym, whatever. And it's something that can be broken down and put it away too. They don't have to have a permanent fixture like a baseball field, like a football field. There's no maintaining that part. You don't have to cut the grass. You don't have to, draw the lines. You just gotta.
They don't even fucking do that at our field anyway. So
I mean, the only negatives I could see is if somehow the rules were, of course, being pushed, which is going to happen in every sport. It does. But it gets pushed to the point where schools aren't caring about the eligibility.
Right.
But as it's set right now, the only negative I could see is if you were taking players away from other teams that were themselves very short on people.
Yeah, but to me, I mean, I can't speak for all schools, but from ourselves, you'd be able to get through it. We have kids that dual sport.
Yeah.
So if you can play baseball and track or football and soccer at the same time, then I think you can play football and video games at the same time. So to me, that's to me that I can't imagine that would be that much of a problem. I would think that a lot of these events, as far as the esports go, a lot of that stuff I would believe would take place on the weekends. Having some of these events.
None of the articles that I read said that. Actually, the one here says Western Michigan University unveiled a new Oh, that's just where when they unveiled it.
But I mean, regardless, they're not going to have these events at the same time as a varsity basketball game on a Friday night or a varsity football game on a Friday night.
No.
Like they're not going to. They're smart enough to have them at different times. I mean, who gives a shit if it's on a Wednesday at 6? I mean, football coaches
like you said,
and other coaches will make
Saturday
it work.
or Sunday or something. you know.
Well, you think about it, if you're dual sporting it, and you're like, oh, I want to play video games, and I'm the coach of the sport you play, I'd be like, go for it. 'Cause at least you're not getting beat up playing the other actual sport.
That's true. The
You're not getting worked over. I get carpal tunnel,
But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. We're at the hour mark. Josh, I want to thank you for stopping in the studio.
thanks for having me.
I was hoping you'd do the Dan Patrick, first time, long time.
6'2", 310.
Ding. But yeah, thanks for giving. You do have kind of a, your kids are at the age where it's a unique kind of lens to look through.
Mm-hmm.
In 2Ks as well. I know I'm sure if we, when we look back on this again in 5 years, your kids are going to be where Josh's are. And I guarantee the landscape will be totally different in 5 years.
I can promise you one thing: like, I'm not going to quit playing video games, but the only way that I can play video games anymore is if I involve my kids.
Right.
Like, I don't have that choice anymore to be like, I'm going to go play video games down in the basement by myself. Wherever I go, I at least have 2 follow.
Oh yeah.
So it's like
And
I get
dog.
down there and I see them and I'm just like, here's your sticks. Let's roll. So
Looks like we're playing that game again.
Well, 2K crew, I want to thank you for hanging in there. And audio crew, this is where we're going to leave you. So Jim Rome, we're fucking coming for you. You better get us on your radar. Well, YouTube crew, thanks for hanging in there with us. Look at this sexy son of a bitch right here with that big ass beard.
That's right.
You've been looking at him the whole time. I know it.
Hard to miss.
Well, YouTube crew, since we're just here for you, go ahead and give this a like and subscribe while you're there. But and this is totally off the cuff. I haven't asked either one of these gentlemen this question, but I did kind of tease it in the group and didn't get a lot of responses, which I was kind of weirded out by. Christian Yelich, sign an extension. Was it like 5 years or 7 years?
7 years, 219 19 million.
That being said, Mookie Betts, which I love me some Mookie.
Just a little bit.
Would you rather have Yelich at his price tag or Mookie at his potential price tag?
Which his potential was what, 10 years, 350?
He's looking at 10 years or 12 years, 40 or 400.
400.
How old is he?
23, maybe even younger.
Let's look this up real quick.
And Yelich is 26.
Yelich is a little bit older.
Yeah.
Like, what would the average age you guys think is when
Mookie's
players
27.
start
Is he 27?
digressing in their play?
Say
I think Yelich
34,
is-
35.
So these guys are going to get 9 years before they probably start going down.
Yes.
And as far as player that I'm taking, to me it's easy. I'm taking Yelich. I mean, and Yelich is older right now, but his contract is so franchise friendly to me.
Well, his first contract when he's with the Jeters, holy shit, the dude was getting paid like $7 million a year. Probably the best bargain in baseball since Albert Pujols signed his 10-year, $100 million contract with the Cardinals.
And people thought they spent too much back then.
Yelich is 28, so Yelich is 1 year older. Oh, there's no question I'm taking Yelich. I mean, to me, it's almost as far as the last like 2-3 seasons, it's basically a wash. I mean, since Yelich has put a Brewers jersey on, it's hard to argue that maybe one consistent player that's better than him, and that's Mike Trout.
Yeah.
Since he switched over to the Brewers, so to me, 219. When I saw this deal go through,
he won an MVP. And if he stays healthy year,
he wins
another one. Mookie's won one. Mookie has World Series ring. Yelly doesn't have one yet.
Yeah. Well, Mookie also played on a team that Yelich has never even touched the surface of a team that good.
No, probably the best Red Sox team in the last 30 years. There's a lot of Sox fans say they're the best Red Sox team ever. Calm down.
They're arguably one of the. You can put them in the category of the best baseball team ever. Yeah. So I mean, especially if you go by their postseason and the way they just fucking demolished teams that entire postseason. Were they cheating though?
No.
Even with Mr. banging on the can, Alex Cora there.
Nope. And I tell you what,
I don't know. This investigation's taken for fucking ever, though. That's all I'm going to say.
That's one of the reasons.
The Clintons are running it.
Well, that gives me more confidence because had they had I have a feeling that if they would have had something concrete, they would have come.
It would have surfaced.
Now they're digging so fucking hard to make it not look like they're wasting everyone's time. And on top of that, and I know we've seen it before with, the Palmeiros. I did not take steroids ever. Waving a fucking finger, lying through his teeth. There's a whole team of Red Sox standing up going, this is exactly what the fuck we did.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Was it cheating? Pushing the rules, yes.
Right.
But there's no way, shape, or form you can compare what they did to what the Astros were doing.
Well, they're not using surveillance footage and the blimp to zoom in on signals.
Yeah, they go into the clubhouse, watch their last at bat, which is why those monitors are back there, and just watching. All right, well it's 2-2. He's throwing a slider down and away. So when the next time it's 2-2, they're prepping for a slider down and away. Habits, routines.
Yeah.
That's what they're picking up on. And fuck, you could do the same thing with a pencil and a paper in the dugout.
Oh, yeah.
JD Martinez does it all the time. So don't tell me. I mean, granted, baseball told him not to do that. But you know what? How can you patrol or even enforce something when you're someone just watching a video that you placed there? Don't watch where the pitches are going. Don't watch what they're throwing. Watch your swing only. Watch your swing only.
Why have the monitor there to begin with?
Yeah. But this one was weird to me. There's the contract. The number itself was shocking with Yelich. Now I want to say he still has. He's not up for. He's still got 2 years on his current deal. So they were very proactive with it, where the Red Sox weren't with Mookie. I'm curious as if this would have come out before the Mookie trade. If they would have done this the end of last year. There's no way Mookie can ask for that much money. There's no way.
Not after last year, no.
No, especially after his lackluster year. Then again, too, with all the rumors and everything circulating, the injuries the Red Sox had, and I'm not excusing his performance by any means, but it's hard to tell which one, in my opinion, has a bigger upside.
It's a lot of money either way.
And on top of it, not only did Yelich give the Brew Crew a complete hometown discount, he's moving from right field to left field. So you're paying me a lot of money. And I'm changing positions, but I'm getting a lot less money than what. Hell, are you kidding me? If he would have went free agent, you're looking at $350 easy. He's leaving $150 million on the table.
Absolutely.
And that's to me this contract right here makes me happy to know that there are still some players that are out there like, you know what? I hated playing in Miami. Thank you, Jeets, for getting me the fuck out of there. Now you got me up here. I love the city. I love my teammates. I love the organization. Fuck yes. Where do I sign?
And to me, one of the reasons why I like the contract so much more is just the longevity of the contract. So you have 7 years. Or no. Yeah, 7 years. So you have 7 years instead of the 10 years or the 12 years that Mookie's asking for. These contracts, they look great when they first start. I'm a Detroit Tigers fan. I saw it with Miguel Cabrera.
His swing looks good
at the time.
Spring, though.
Yeah, I said that last year. It still doesn't look like what it did, 4 years ago.
No.
So, and at the time that they signed that contract, he's coming off of a Triple Crown. He's coming off of an MVP season.
He peaked.
And it's absolutely. And nobody in baseball deserved that or deserved more money than him. They paid it. Everything was great. Everything was great for the next season. Next year, it kind of started to go downhill. Then they had the injury. And I realized it was an injury that had to do with a bicep. It wasn't even that serious of an injury, but still, we had to go through it. Then last year, it's all, basically we find out that his knee's about 75% done. So we still have to pay this guy until he's 40 years old.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's
so to me, if you can get these contracts done and out of the way, and so you have Christian Yelich at 28, so he signs on for 7 years. 35, when his contract's coming up, he's still probably playing decent baseball at that time, but he's on his way out.
7-year extension.
Yeah.
So which means he has 9 years total.
Yeah.
He's through
Still
contract
not that long, though.
through 2028, I believe it is.
You're not paying him until he's 40 years old, like you are with Miggy. And Miggy's I think Miggy's like 37 now, maybe going into 30, going to be 38 at the beginning of the season. You got to pay him now for. I think most Tigers fans would say, yeah, I don't want that guy anymore. And it's hard to say that, because I'm a Tigers fan, and obviously I loved Miggy, and I still do, and I still have more respect for him than about any Tiger that I've ever watched in my time. But if I could get rid of and dump that contract now, where do I sign?
It's very similar to we all, as Tigers fans, saw the decline of Victor Martinez.
Yep.
Probably one of the best switch hitters, especially switch hitting catchers ever. But just saw him deteriorate, and just because of age and injuries and everything else. And it's unfortunately for Tigers fans, it's going to be a long deterioration. And I'm not ready to yet. If it happens again this year, then I'm jumping off that boat, because I've been driving the bus and the boat, the Miggy train for.
Absolutely, and it's hard not to, because you look at all the past success that he had, so it's hard to just give up on a guy like that. And I'm sure the same thing could be said for a lot of Pittsburgh Pirates fans with Andrew McCutchen, and I get it that he's not there anymore. He's moved on to Philly now, but at the time that they signed that deal, it was like he was coming off an MVP season, and we want to lock this guy up, and we want him forever.
Well, the best one that embodies that, it's Albert Pujols for the Angels.
Yes.
Now, could you imagine how much talent they could put around Mike Trout if they weren't paying Albert Pujols that much
And
fucking
Josh
money?
Hamilton?
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm sure C.J. Wilson's probably still getting some money.
on that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but no, that was. I think I'd have to take Yelich in his contract, even though I love Mookie.
To me, player wise, I would probably give Mookie a little bit of the. I think they both are freaking studs when it comes to at the plate. Obviously, the reason I probably give Mookie the head over Yelich is I think Mookie's better defensively.
Yeah,
it's proven he has a way better arm. I mean, Mookie arguably has maybe the best arm in the game, and then defensively,
either him or Judge and Stanton, all three of those guys.
So Mookie, I would probably say is a better player, but Mookie getting locking him up for 12 years, and he is 27 years old, so he is going to be 40 over the age of 40.
I thought he was younger than that. I thought he was 23, 24, but
if he was 23, 24, sign the deal. I'm taking. Right. I mean, and only guy that to me that I'm willing to pay $400+ million for
Mike Trout.
Is Mike Trout. Mookie's not Mike Trout, never will be.
No,
Christian Yelich is not Mike Trout, never will be.
And I think it kind of puts into perspective that the Red Sox weren't too far off with 10 years, 350. Every Red Sox fan, myself included, I wanted them to re-sign Mookie just as much as the next Red Sox fan. The only person that would disagree with me, they're not Red Sox fans, but Kyler Thornburg was probably like, no, don't fucking pay him. We want him. And now it's going to be funny when...
I don't think Mookie's going to... I don't know. It's all going to come down... If they win a World Series, I don't know.
I don't see him staying there. I mean,
it's the fucking Dodgers. They'll get to the World Series easy, and then they'll shit the bed like they always
Kershaw
do.
will lose game 2
Kershaw
and 6.
Yep. Because he never has showed up in the playoffs. No. They'll be the best team in baseball all season long, hands down. And then they'll get to the playoffs. And they'll get to the World Series, and they'll shit the bed. Calling it now.
There you go, Kyler. He's calling you out.
But one thing I will say is I was kind of banking on the Yankees winning it all. And now with some of these injuries to the Yankees, I don't know if they're going to get there.
Here's my thoughts on this. And call me a homer. I don't give a shit. You've got your number 2, 3, 4, possibly 5 starters on injured reserve right now. The bullpen's locked down.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
Don't have to worry.
It's the best bullpen in baseball.
The
average height of like 6'8".
Yeah. Betanzas hadn't really been there the last year and a half. He's obviously not physically there. He's with I think he's Phillies. I think either the Phillies or the Reds or something like that. But still probably the best bullpen in baseball. They went and now you got Judge on the rack. You've got Stanton. They went to the well so many times and got so lucky that players filled the roles that they were asked to fill. so easily. Now you got Gary Sanchez with back Mets, right? And Gary Sanchez with back problems. Anytime you're, of course, Aaron Boone played it off. Oh, I'm not worried about it. When you have a catcher having back problems, it's a big fucking problem.
Oh yeah,
You
it's
know,
like having knee surgeries for a catcher.
yeah. And to be honest with you, I want to put this on air right now. The one they're gonna miss the most this season is Didi.
Yeah.
Might not miss his glove because all those infielders, especially.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I can see why they didn't re-sign him.
Yeah,
However,
because they'll probably just slide Torres over to short and
LeMahieu to 2nd. Yep, that's what their plan is.
And then LeMahieu, I mean,
He could play anywhere.
shit, he almost fucked around last year, and nobody was really talking to him. He about fucked around, won an MVP. I mean, he was damn near close if it wasn't for just not having the home run numbers, and obviously Mike Trout is being a fucking G.
Yeah, he's being a G and missed the second part of the season.
Yeah.
So, but no, that to me, the Yankees starting pitching, and I think it's going to be the lack of Didi is going to bite them in the ass. And we'll get into this on another episode, but I don't think the Red Sox are going to do as bad as most everyone thinks they are.
Oh,
Just throwing it out there.
Fuck. It's going to be an all-out battle with them and Toronto for third.
Nah, we'll see. We'll break that down in another episode, ladies and gentlemen. But on that note, YouTube crew, we will get you out on this. Thank you for hanging out with us. Like I said, subscribe and like to us, and we will catch you next week.